I just can't get over this.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we're on the air. We're live. We are the Spiritual Neighborhood. The Spiritual Neighborhood is a grassroots community project with the Council of Families for Children, a 501c3 nonprofit. We believe that sick can be fixed, so we support services that improve the quality of life for the body, mind, and spirit for the integration of a healthy, happy human. And my nose was not running until I started reading this. I must be allergic to you people.
Are you drinking?
No, I've got my protein shake. So today we have back with us April Chalk. I just love the young women that we have on our show because they're perpetuating all the things that I thought that we should be doing in the 80s, and, doing things to make life better and families happier. And I'm just so proud of these young women. So April is the owner of Star Surrogacy, and they are the Texas Elite Surrogacy Agency, and I believe that's true. Their core belief is that amazing surrogates and intended parents we get to work with are the stars of every surrogacy journey we successfully build. I can't talk today.
I'm telling you, I'm not sure what's happening here.
Star Surrogacy was born out of the need for a Texas-based surrogacy agency that provided tailored services specifically geared towards... There's too many S's in this thing.
We're sounding like snakes over here.
I don't like snakes, and they don't like me. And they're very affordable, and she's great. And she specializes with... gay couples because of their special needs?
Yeah, we specialize kind of with all families. We do work with all types of families.
Okay, then I'll just shut up. You go ahead and talk. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll own it. She's out of control again.
Well, I was trying to look at, I know. Let me go back to, I was going to ask you a question. Luann and I were, we just happened to be talking online when you sent me some info.
Right.
And you said there was something that you wanted to do or to take a class on. And I said, Luann, I don't know what these initials mean. And I had intended to ask you, what was it, L?
The LPC. So it's basically a certification or degree to be able to be a counselor. I think that when you're going through any type of family formation change, I think that counseling is super important, and having that support system in place is definitely important too. I know that a lot of my clients, whether it's the intended parents or the surrogates, have always leaned on me quite a bit through the journey, which is what I'm there for. However, I have to be super careful just because I'm not a certified counselor. Mm-hmm. So I don't have my LPC. I don't have any type of counseling license. So I have decided to try and go back to grad school and get that license put in place so that I can further assist all of my clients as they need it. We recently had a baby born week before last, and the surrogate was super happy. It was an amazing, beautiful journey, and the baby was right at 10 pounds.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Was it vaginal or C-section?
Nurtured, huh? That person was nurtured,
right?
Was it vaginal or C-section?
So the dad is actually from Belgium. And he came in, and the baby was born, and everything was beautiful. But the surrogate was definitely struggling with that separation because her body needed that baby near, So that's definitely something that surrogates go through. So having that support system in place is super important. So I've been checking in with her daily just to make sure that she's okay. I'm willing to have coffee with her, whatever she needs. I wanted to support her as much as I could. And that's why going through the process, when we screen them, I ask them time and time again, what does your support system look like? Because it's super important to have that in place. And so I think having my LPC would give me that opportunity to be able to support them even further without having to step outside of my box too much.
Are there support groups that they can join?
Absolutely. So there are definitely support groups out there. as far as some of the Facebook surrogate support groups, you have to be super careful with them. And I don't know how to say this nicely,
Just say it.
but some surrogates are really just nasty individuals doing it for the money. And so they've kind of really put a damper on a lot of the support groups on Facebook. And the moderators can only moderate so much of that junk out. But there's a lot of bad mouthing on some of those groups. So it's not super supportive, which is terrible. Which is another reason why whenever my surrogates come through, I always suggest that they not go into those support groups. If they need support, that they need to reach out to me, and I can definitely connect them with a counselor. But I highly suggest that they don't go into those groups just because it's super toxic in a lot of those groups.
Wow, you would think of all the people in the world that would be the one community where there would well, I say that, but then there's fighting everywhere. There's just arguing and mean people everywhere.
Right. And it's become such an industry now. Sadly, I hate that it's become an industry, if you will. I think a lot of people lose the magic of the journey and the giving piece of it, because the money is just, everybody's just fighting for surrogates and fighting, for the money. They want the biggest and the best, and the surrogates want the most money. I had a surrogate come in the other day, and she was like, so my compensation is $80,000, no questions asked. You can put it on my profile. And I'm like, not in Texas, sweetheart, maybe in California. But compensations are really competitive. So it really puts that kind of friction between all the surrogates too, because they start talking about compensation and they start talking about what they got and what, who did what. And then pretty soon it's just a big cat fight.
And then it sounds like it's just a business. It's just strictly a baby business. It's just produce the babies and go on producing go on.
Yeah. So we try to stay out of that.
April, the Council of Families has a program that trains people on how to run support groups, so that it's not like a 12-step program, and it's not a bitch session where people get together. It has a very low-key but very specific formatting to help people do problem solving and do empathy building. If you ever had anyone that would be willing to start a support group and run it for your agency, I'd be more than happy to give you
I would definitely do it. Okay. Yeah, I would love to go through that.
We'll definitely do the training with you and whoever. Then it's real simple. It's so easy. It's ridiculous.
I would love to do that. I actually run a infertility support group that's based in Oregon, and I have almost 1,200 people in there right now.
Wow.
I started it. Yeah, I started it because there was nothing when I was going through it. So there was no groups there. I mean, the groups that were there were the surrogate groups that were just horrible. And I was like, I can't be in this. This isn't what I need during this time. So I started a local support group for Oregon. I posted on one of it's like a baby.com board, or I don't remember the name of the board, but it's where a lot of people would go to get questions answered and follow each other's journey and stuff. And I was like, well, why can't we do this on Facebook? And so I created it. I posted it out there as a local Oregon group. And I tagged a bunch of the fertility clinics that were out in Oregon. And so I had a bunch of people join like right away. And I'm really particular on who goes in. So I make them answer questions very extensively. And if they don't, I just delete them. Yeah. I don't let them in.
No, that's the due diligence.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the group doesn't have any spam in it. I don't tolerate people contacting each other behind each other's backs. So I moderate it really closely. And I haven't had but maybe one or two problems in it. And, but the group has been fantastic. And a lot of people I get notes almost weekly that say, I'm so grateful for this group. It's been a really great group.
What I really like about this format, and then we'll move on, is that it teaches a very simple problem management, format, so that if someone comes to you with a problem, you get them on board with solutions, but you bring in the rest of the group to offer solutions. And
Right.
it's not like they beat them up if they don't like ideas, and they don't get to beat them up if they don't try ideas, but it's about getting everybody on board to cooperate and then seeing if they try it and then the results that they get. So there is some accountability in there so that they're not just whining and crying about their problem every week. Because,
Right.
I've been into support groups where the same person would go through the same problem every week. When we were doing our mental
Yep.
health support group. And this puts a stop to that and helps people to move forward. So email me and
That
I'll
makes
send you the
sense,
training
yeah.
book, and then we can go through it one day if you want to. So
Yeah, that would be awesome.
awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So what else we got going on here?
So I think that some of the importance too of, either adopting or surrogacy, or any type of change in your family, it's so important not to get lost in the situation. I know that when we were dealing with adopting my daughter, we had so many workers in every day. It was like physical therapy, it was, caseworkers, it was, certifiers, it was so many people in and out of our house, that you kind of forget, oh yeah, I'm still a mom. Like I still need to take care of me, emotionally, and kind of nurture who I am as a person. And so it's really good to have that person in your life that says, hey, go sit down, go take a shower, go be you for a hot minute. And then we can, I'll stay with your kid or whatever. But it's so important to have that support person that makes you stop, that makes you sit down and breathe and kind of disassociate yourself with what you're going through, because it is a lot and it's so easy to become your situation, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because a lot of the stress that you're going through is similar to any type of family situation with children that have like special needs, children with mental health issues. It's the same thing. And that's one of the things that we hammered down relentlessly in all of our parenting classes at the council. And I hate to keep bringing that up, but the synergy is so in tune here. They have to take care of themselves. It's just like being in an airplane. If that oxygen mask drops, you put it on yourself first. Because if you pass out, you can't help anybody else. So by taking care of yourself, you're doing your job. And you're doing it well.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You can definitely wear yourself out going through something like this.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh.
So are the adoptions closed, open, or a combination of all now?
So most of the adoptions nowadays, I want to say that they're open. But my daughter's is semi-open. Where we had to stipulate our rules for communication, and the birth mom has since broken those rules, so we don't really do much of any communication. I do have access to birth mom if I needed to get to her for some reason, so I do have that. However, closed adoptions are very, very rare anymore, unless it's like a private situation. But most of the foster adoption situations are open unless the birth parents aren't safe.
So is there a rule of generality on how to deal with this for the children's sake as they get older? And I'm interested because, my granddaughter's adopted. And she doesn't know anything about her biological father and his family, and should we encourage that she wait till she's 18 to contact these people if she's interested? Should we try to help facilitate it before that and help her go through that? Well, what's the idea behind all that?
So when we started the adoption process, I read a lot of books and articles and studies about kids and, do you tell your kids right away? Do you not tell your kids right away? And they said that some of the healthiest kids came out and they were told their entire life, their story, age appropriately, knew about their situation. So the kid's dad and I have always decided that it's super important that our kids know their situation and their journey, because we never want them to have any resentment towards us. And we don't want them to have, there's a term for it, but I can't pull it out of my head right now. It's almost like the honeymoon theory, where they have this idea in their head of what their life could have been with their other family.
Right.
Like maybe they wouldn't have had to do chores. And we make them sweep the floor. But if they were to live with their other family, maybe they wouldn't have had to sweep the floor. So their life would have been so much grander. So they do come to a certain age where they have these ideas. Well, you know, you're not my mom, blah, blah, blah. So I've always been super honest with my daughter. I've said, we call them tummy mamas. All my kids know that they have different tummy mamas. All of my kids know their story. We've been super open with her. We've told her that her tummy mama wasn't safe, that her tummy mama wasn't healthy. And so the judge decided that she needed to live with somebody who was healthy and could take care of her appropriately. And so she knows that. And as, you know, it started out with, oh, your tummy mama isn't me, but I'm still your mom. You know, it kind of started out with, who is your tummy mama? Who is your mommy? Who are these people? And she has a life book that her caseworker put together for her. And it has pictures of her brothers, her siblings, and her birth mother. We don't know who birth dad is. So we don't really have that, but we do have pictures of her mom's side of the family.
Well, we've done something similar with her. We've done something similar with her, and she has a lot of questions. And so I basically have done a lot of genealogy research to give her the history. I've gotten pictures of her birth dad and shown them to her. We've been very open about her circumstances, and sometimes I wonder if it wasn't too much. Because it occurred to me that this honeymoon thing also happens in blended families with stepchildren. Well, if I was with my dad, I wouldn't have to do chores,
Yeah, exactly. And that's really hard on parents. It's really hard on parents. It's really hard on step parents. It's just really hard on the family dynamics altogether. But what I tell them is, if there's a floor at the house, you probably would have had to sweep it.
And if you didn't, who would sweep it? Unless they're rich, there's no maid, so somebody's got to sweep it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've been very honest with my daughter, and so sometimes she's like, well, at dad's house, we don't have to do this. And I'm like, okay, but dad doesn't have a washing machine, so mom has to wash all your clothes. So that means when you're here, you get to wash clothes with me. And so that's kind of, we've been having to struggle with that as well. There's been some pretty hard conversations between she and I lately, just because she's trying to adapt to having two different homes. And I try to make it positive. It's really hard, though, at times, because kids only understand so much at one time.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. They can only handle so much at one time.
Right. And so I don't want to dump everything on her. She's not an adult. She can't process that, but it's good for her to also see the reality of it, because when she walks out those doors as an adult, she's going to have a more realistic image of life,
right?
And she's not going to have this Disney princess idea in her head that, she needs to be catered to, and that's how life really is.
So don't you think that sometimes these parents overcompensate, and they do give them that fantasy thought or feeling of, because I've adopted you, your world's just going to be Pollyanna. And in reality, it's really not. These kids need to have boundaries. They need chores. They need to know these are the rules and be treated like an actual born child to that family.
Right. Yeah. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen where a family has two children and they're like, oh, we would love to adopt another one and bring another child in. So they bring the adopted child in. Well, then they realize that adopted child isn't a perfect child, or has different issues than their biological children.
Right.
So they tend to kind of push that adopted child to the side and raise up their biological children. I've seen where they have a different bond, which is naturally going to happen, but you just have to learn how to kind of feed each bond differently. Just like each child needs to learn differently. They need to be loved differently. They need to be catered to differently. So that bond is going to be different between each child. And sometimes that's hard for families to understand when a new child comes into the house.
It also requires the parent to be aware that the children are different. They need to know those little quirks or whatever. And this kid is different than this kid.
Right. And I think too, when you bring a child in, and already having children established in your home, bringing another child or a group of children into your home, I really would highly suggest counseling for everybody as a group. As a group and as an individual, just because the dynamics change and everybody thinks it's going to be like a movie and you're just going to bring them in and everybody's going to be happy and eat waffles in the morning and, sing songs.
I eat waffles in the morning. They don't.
It is like a movie, April. It's like The Shining. It's a terror.
It can definitely rock the boat in ways that people don't really consider. Because on paper, it looks fine. And in the movies you're watching and you're like, oh, I want to adopt a child. That sounds so fantastic. And I want to save a child and bring them into my home and love them. But they have to be loved differently than those children that you have in your home right now.
Right.
And my first child was an adopted child. And my last child was the birth child that I birthed. So I have 2 adopted kids and then 1 that I birthed. And so I have to love them all differently because they are all 3 very different children.
And they are.
Yeah, and our bonds are completely different. It's so sometimes I feel like I'm being pulled 3 different directions. But I felt like I nurtured each of those bonds as they came into my home. So I have a very special relationship with each of my kids, and I don't feel that any of them are lesser than any of them. I've seen that happen so many times in families where either the biological kids are kind of pushed aside or the adopted kids are pushed aside. Very rarely do you see them all blend together.
Right.
There's always those tugs and pulls in that relationship in the family dynamics.
Right. So one of the things is that just because you have the money to do it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, maybe you don't have the right temperament for it. Maybe you don't have.
Right. Well, also, foster adoptions don't cost much, if anything. So a lot of people have turned to foster adoptions after their children are a certain age. Mm-hmm. And so they've turned to having, bringing in different kids into their world because they're like, oh, well, our kids are getting older now. Let's adopt a child. And then sometimes they don't know how to nurture that child, or their support group doesn't nurture that child. Their families, their churches, whatever it may be, may not know how to do that.
Well,
go ahead.
As a parent and grandparent of blended families, the thing I have found difficult is that the children don't understand that you love them all, but you do have to treat them differently. And a lot of times it's based on their behavior because with my 2 grandsons, they've been very destructive because there's some mental health issues there. So they've not been able to come as often at times when they're having problems. And they don't have the same privileges that maybe my granddaughter does because she doesn't have the same issues. And so they, have complained that they don't feel like they're as loved as she is at times. So it's not like that now, but it was in the beginning. And, I had to sit them down and say, I love you all equally, but you get treated based upon your behaviors. Okay?
Exactly.
And there are certain things that have to be earned. The love is never earned. It's never deserved, but privileges are. So no, you don't get to play on my computer because you tore it up the last time.
Right.
And
that's a rule. That's a boundary.
Yeah. And when they're 6 and 7 and they're traumatized and they're feeling lost and lonely, and their families have been ripped apart, and they're now thrown into a new family. And then they have this grandparent like me who's meaner than dirt because she has restrictions and boundaries and expectations. Talk about culture shock. It's been 4 years now, and I think they're adjusting quite well to me. But
Yeah, but you provide them with rules and boundaries, and that's a safe environment.
Yeah. So I've actually felt like I had made some progress with the boys when we all sat down a couple weeks ago and watched Annie Mae, which is one of my favorite movies, and one of the people I aspired to be like as a grandparent, because I thought she was awesome teaching the kids diversity and culture and things. And I asked the boys, I said, do you think I'm like her? And they said, no, we think you're better. And I went,
oh, wow.
And I'm like, why? And I mean, that really surprised me, because she was very selfish and self-centered at times, and you're not. I had to go in my room and cry. I did.
Right? You're like, give me just a minute.
Like, May's got to go do something. I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. But, because I worried with my own kids, and I worried, because of their issues, and I worried about these kids that, you do what you feel is right parenting, but you don't have any guarantee that they're going to love you back when they get older,
I was adopted, and I was pretty much treated like a child on a platter, I was never made to do any chores. I was never made to be responsible for anything but picking up my room, and I didn't do that often. So what happened was they were older. They were 35 when I was adopted, and they died young. And so I was a 21-year-old child that didn't know how to wash clothes, clean the kitchen, mow the yard. And so I was abandoned again and had big issues. Wow. It took a long time to get over that. So I don't think a child who's adopted, you're doing them any favors by not trying to treat them equally. In other words, everybody does chores, and this is your chore.
Right.
Everybody learns this, and this is what you're learning right now.
Right.
And so I know a lot of adoptive parents are older, and they just are so afraid that I know my adopted mom was afraid that my birth mom was going to come and take me away.
Oh.
That's what she was afraid of, that something would happen and that would take me away. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think she would tell me this story. You're going to grow up, you're going to go to college, and you're going to meet some nice young men. Wow, that was such a lie. So, she tried to infuse the Cinderella story into me. Mm-hmm. Because that's what she wanted.
So many parents do that.
Yeah, that's what she wanted for you. She wanted that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's because that's what she wanted to happen for me. And I think in a lot of ways, she was very Pollyanna, it's going to turn out great. And here you are in our life. But the one thing I did always have was unconditional love from her, from Dad, and from my grandparents, her parents. It was always unconditional love. Yeah. So in that light, I won the lottery. But it is. You think, well, gee, if I had been raised by my mother, my birth mother, this wouldn't have happened. But you don't know that either.
Well, here in the South, one of the the big issues is are you blood? Are you blood or are you not? And I heard that from the moment, I can remember. And it was a real big difference between me and my brother, because his dad was different than my dad. And there was always this stepbrother, stepsister issue. Of course, Bob and I never looked at it that way. We never said this is my stepbrother. We always said this is my brother or my sister. But there was still that wedge, that little bit of a wedge where you're just not quite as important as maybe the other kid. Yep. And that really caused a lot of issues for us later on as adults.
Right.
So put that
So
layer
you
out
need to
there.
start it early. Let's do that early, and so that can help them not have those issues.
Exactly. I think it's so important. And I don't think that agencies put enough emphasis on that counseling piece when they are adopting. I think it should almost be mandatory for an adoption to be finalized. I think X number of hours of counseling, family group counseling should be completed. I mean, and I know that sounds crazy, but at the same time, I mean, especially if it's a foster adoption, because these kids have been handled by so many people along the way. I mean, Isabella was only in 2 foster homes. However, I mean, there were some kids that we fostered that had been in 6 or 7 different homes. So with each home comes a certifier, comes a different caseworker, comes different attorneys, comes different attorney assistants. You know, there's so many people that come on one case. These poor kids don't know who their people are. And so then they're plopped into this home and they're like, okay, these are your people forever. Good luck with that. Have fun. You know, here's your family. Love them. Be good for them. And they're supposed to create these bonds and relationships. And, you know, there's no therapy for anybody provided.
And do they do personality profiles at all on the parents? It seems to me that would just be a given.
Of course, like you have to jump through hoops as a person who is adopting. I mean, we had to do a home study where they come in and they literally sift through every cabinet of your house just to see who you are, what are you about. They make you do all of these personality tests and what was your past life like? What was this like? What was that? And I mean, we had a 42-page home study. I think it was like 42 or 43 pages about us, like everything about us. What was your childhood like? Who was your mom? Who was your dad? Who was your uncle? Who was your brother? Like everything.
Yeah, but those questions,
but when it's all said and done, anybody can write down anything.
Well, that was my point. And also, there's a lot of people out there that would be great parents. I mean, on paper, if you ask me about my past, I look like crap. You know, I came from a broken family, didn't get along with my step parents. I didn't get along with my step siblings, you know, all kinds of stuff, you know. So, I mean, but there are scientific personality tests. Do they do any of those, or is it just questionnaires?
We did not have to do any of those.
Because I do much better on those tests. You know, I really do, Elizabeth. Quit laughing.
She knows all the right answers on those.
Yeah, I know how to cheat the test.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there. Wasn't going to say it, but that's okay.
No, that shows how smart I am, at least.
Of course, and you are. That's dangerous.
Oh God, where were we going with this? There was a point. Oh, my point is that how do you keep personalities of your not caregivers, but the people that are checking you out? I mean, you know, what if you get someone that you just clash with? And it doesn't mean that they're bad at their job, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad applicant, but because of that, how much does their personality affect that decision is what I have to wonder about. You know?
So what happened with us in regards to adoption, we had to present ourselves, or actually our caseworker presented us in front of a board of 4, it was either 4 or 6 people on the panel. And so we were presented, and so we made a kind of like an about us, but we did it at the level that the children were that we were applying for. So you apply for a child, and then you get accepted to go to committee. And so when you go to committee, then you present at the age level of the child. So we had like a little soft photo album, and we put pictures of us and our dogs in our house in our park down the street. And we said, I cut out little letters that said, Mom little letters that said dad and how our home and your room and our dogs. And it was like, it looked like a little house. The little book looked like a little soft house. And then we had to put together like an emergency booklet, like who do we call, who would our pediatrician be, who, you know, we had to put poison control in there and make sure that they knew that we were serious about being parents,
Right.
basically. And it also included our home study for them to read about us. And we supplied additional photos and stuff of, you know, our neighborhood and whatnot. And so then we were presented at committee and they selected us, and we were told that night, it was a Wednesday night, and we were told that we were going to be able to adopt her.
Not
So
that
that's
it was
kind of
really
how they-
important, but you got the day that it happened right there. In the heart, but boy, that does not go away.
Right?
That
Right?
moment.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I remember being on pins and needles all day, and committees are usually done in the afternoons. And I found out at like 5:27. I was on a walk with my friends.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And just
So-
a side note to that is that if you're in a blended family and one parent is going through the adoption process of adopting the other parent's existing kids, it's very similar to this procedure because I've been through it. But the only difference is that you don't go before committee. All this information is actually presented to a judge in court
Judge, yeah.
here, at least in
Right.
Texas. And it's very stressful. Oh my gosh. Because both of you're already the parent of this child, and they're questioning your ability of whether you should have had that child or not.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're like, you actually, at least I did, I went, oh my God, what if they say that Scott's not going to be able to adopt? And then they say, oh, you're terrible too. And they just take the kids away, you know? You know, I got real paranoid, you know?
Right.
So it is stressful. Oh my gosh, I would have.
It is.
I wish I'd had
Anytime
that
you're
hold in my
bringing-
hand.
Yeah. Anytime you're changing the dynamics of a family, or, you know, roles or positions or anything like that, you know, it's super stressful. And I always highly suggest that people go out and get the appropriate counseling. It's hard to find counselors that can empathize, though, with these kind of situations.
Right.
So that I think that that's one reason why I want to go get my LPC too, is just so I can definitely be by their side and say, hey, I've been through this. Let's get through this together. You know, it's going to be okay in the end, you know.
Well, that's why
It's gonna
your
be
company
bumpy,
is so
but-
good, because you're thinking ahead. You're trying to incorporate. You don't want to just stay at one level. You want to
Right.
bring in more dynamics as you grow with this, because your clients are going to grow with that as well. I mean,
Right.
it isn't just come, drop off the baby and go. You are literally taking a journey with them, well, forever, because it is now one of those situations.
Yeah.
So when you get your
These are your kids too, basically.
when you get your degree, you should call it like Moccasin Mojo or something like that, and a moccasin would be your logo, because you walked a mile in their moccasins and you
Really?
did it.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
really have.
I have. I mean, definitely. I think, you know, last year I did an embryo transfer. So from last year, it was exactly 10 years from the day that I started my journey until my last embryo transfer last year.
Wow.
Wow. 10 years.
10 years of infertility. I mean, some of these families have been dealing with it since they were, you know, in their late 20s. And so, you know, it's some of them go through 10, 15 years of infertility.
Dang. It's not just a real simple situation. It is.
For
there's a
some
lot
people
of
it
thought.
is, but for a lot of people it's not.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow.
Because I knew I wanted a big family, because I was raised as an only child, and I knew I wanted a big family, and I always knew I wanted to adopt. You know, from the time I was a little kid, I can remember saying, "There's too many kids. Why have more? There's kids that need homes."
Right.
You know.
Well, you need about 4 more
So I always
now.
knew I wanted to adopt, but
You needed 4 more. 7's a nice round number.
yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
That's
She
not very
said that
big.
at one point in time. I remember the first time I saw Isabella. And I said, well, how many more do you think you want? She said, 11. And I'm going, oh my God.
No, that was their dad. That was their dad. That was not me.
It's like, no. Oh my God.
And then whenever she knew I was pregnant with my son, she was like, just wait, this kid is going to rock the earth. And I was like, whatever. This old lady doesn't know what she's talking about. I was like, whatever. It's just going to be a sweet little baby. And the child came out and he has rocked the earth.
Yeah, and I'm not getting involved in this conversation. But when you start talking to old ladies, that's fighting words. I'm not going there.
Well, the energy of this kid was so, I knew she was going to be pregnant, actually pregnant. And I told her, you will actually have a baby naturally. No, not going to happen, not going to happen. So then she does. And I said, this one really is going to rock your world. Do you think the other two are going to be like, this one's going to get you because this one knows you.
Right?
Here's what I can't
figure out. And this one knows you.
What was Elizabeth doing in your bedroom figuring all this crap out is what I want to know.
Why do you go there?
Because
Why do you do that?
We were actually at Jason's Deli.
Don't do that.
We were at Jason's Deli walking out the door, and she turned around and she told me, she said, this kid, and she pointed to my stomach, and she's like, this kid, you better get your running shoes on. And I was like, whatever. It's just going to be a baby.
Hello in there. Whatever. Give her hell. Hello. Give her hell.
Right? I went for one of my first ultrasounds, and they tried to get an image of like his spine or whatever. He literally was grabbing his knees and flipping himself backwards. It took four ultrasounds to get all the information that they needed. And they said they still couldn't get a full image of his feet because he kicked so much and so fast, or he was flipping.
I like this kid.
Yeah.
I like him.
And I was
he continues to do to this day, kicking and flipping. And
I like this kid.
To this day.
Well, they're so dynamic, and each one is so different. I mean, Isabella is just beautiful. I mean, she's just a beautiful, she's just a beautiful child. And I saw her at her, one of her lowest points. And I remember thinking how she is so small. She is so small. And now I look at her and it's like, oh my God, you're so tall. You are so tall. And then the second one, he is just a love bug. And I just call him the professor because he's always thinking.
Yep.
But he's
very smart.
He's very, very smart, but he's always thinking, and he always comes up to you and he goes, I love you. Aww. Just out of nowhere, out of no reason, just out of nowhere. And then there's the last one, and you watch and you look at his face and you go, oh God, I don't want to know what you're thinking. I really don't want to know what it is you're coming up with.
He looks like Dennis the Menace.
Okay, so that's the kid that I get to hang out with because we're like this.
that would be your
I will bring him over at 3:30 today.
Sure. I'll put him with Rogan. I have another one that's just like him. I mean, seriously, and this kid is like a natural born athlete. And that's
this one.
He's always taking things apart, and I didn't touch it. Yes, you did. It's laying there in pieces. Don't lie to me. I'm not stupid. You're insulting my intelligence, or yours, or both of ours. I don't know which one.
Yeah, but the diversity of the kids. April, you're a great mom. You've got a great. They're just a great bunch of kids. I mean, seriously, you have done an extremely amazing job with the situation.
Thank you.
All right, April, tell people how to find you and how to get a hold of you.
You can find us at surrogacy.com. That is how to find us. And you can also search for us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page.
Awesome.
And if you start that support group, be sure and post it online, and so people can find that as well. Because I think that'll be huge, and it's definitely needed. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. Like, there's very few solid support groups out there for this type of stuff. So,
well, good deal. And we're just always thrilled to have you on here. You're just have an amazing
you.
family. You have an amazing point of view. You don't have a mean bone in your body, which, you know.
Ask my kids.
Wait a minute. You might have tipped that scale over just a little.
Hey, I'm making her look good for the show.
Yes.
I'm making her look good for the show. Hush.
If she called me an old lady, I can rat her out about rat me out about being an old lady, man. You know, but we ever forget this?
It's okay. I was pregnant. I didn't have my right frame of mind. When you tell me your brain is weird.
She was pregnant. Everything was all messed up here.
Y'all stop that. Quit perpetuating that myth. We're wonderful no matter what condition we're in. Stop telling people that. We don't do crazy things because we have PMS. We don't do crazy things because we're pregnant. We do crazy things because men make us crazy. If you're going to do it right.
If you're going to blame somebody, blame the one that's part of the situation, right?
Right.
Hold them accountable where it counts.
Oh my God.
See what we have to put up with, April.
I know, right?
All right.
Oh, their life just sucks.
You are so brave, girl. You are so brave.
It just sucks to be y'all. Oh my God.
The first time I saw April with her kids, and one of them was acting up, and she was like, "Listen to me." And I thought, oh, right, she's got this.
Oh my God. Listen,
I keep them pretty on the straight and narrow. I don't give them much room to wander off.
Why should you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was for real. I mean, I saw that in action. She doesn't put up with a bunch of crap at all. It's like, well, there's no barter.
I have very high expectations of them.
Yeah.
Because the world does.
Right.
The world isn't going to catch them when they fall. So I let them fall, I let them cry, and we work it out.
Right.
You should come take over this show then, because I tell you what, this is like herding cats sometimes.
That's kind of my life.
Oh, meow.
Seriously, you can step into my
I'm the old woman cat.
Okay, I'm not even going to go where I can go with that one. All right, I am.
No, God, I really opened that door.
But you know what I'm thinking. You know.
I know.
You know what I'm thinking.
No, I am so sorry, April.
Yeah.
I went there.
Yeah. So anyway, when I get ready to go do something else, you can come take over the show because you can handle these two. They are a handful.
That works. I got it.
It's me.
I got it. I got my mom voice ready.
It's like two Scorpios and a Pisces. How could it not work?
I don't know what that means. She says shit like this to me, and I don't know what it means. Why?
And she looks at me and her eyes just kind of glaze. They're like, what the hell does that mean? A Scorpio, you mean like
what does that mean?
I know it's just like what?
It's okay. If you don't understand, we do, and that's all it counts.
No, damn it, I want to know what it means.
Well, it's the same way when Luann starts talking about the biochemical of the estrogen of the whatever. It's like, what are you talking about? I have no idea.
I knew I wore the scarf for a reason today.
She was like, did you ask the doctor so-and-so and such? She said, well, no, am I supposed to? She goes, well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be asking. I go, I can't even pronounce what you're saying. You want me to ask them?
I just choked myself.
Well,
I'm over here dying and no one's paying attention.
Well, no, you created it yourself. Look, April has no sympathy because you created that situation.
Look how purple she is.
My name in that.
Oh, what a great day. What a great day. April, again, thank you so very much for
April, run quick while you can. Run far away quickly. It's not too late.
Now, run.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Oh my God.
Well, we're looking forward to October and you talking to us again about
About what?
So many different things.
She
Adoption.
can't remember what. So she just does so
I
many
think
things.
October and November are going to be about adoption.
Yeah,
And I'll
November-
definitely, possibly, I can maybe try and get my friend on in October about more adoption stuff. She
Cool.
can talk to you guys about more of the foster stuff.
Awesome. That would be
That'd
great.
be awesome. Have them contact us and we'll get them scheduled. That's
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
I love you,
Will do.
dear. Thank you. And I love those
Thank
kids.
you.
I can't wait to meet them in person one day. So
Yes,
Absolutely.
soon. I'm taking them over tonight at 3:30, so you'll see them soon today.
Oh, wow.
I'm dropping them all off.
Well,
I'm getting them all
think my
Benadryl,
appointment
put
is
them to
coming
bed.
up. I think I'm leaving like now.
Well, good luck, Deborah.
hey,
So
not my
that's a
first
garland,
rodeo. Not my first rodeo with this kind of kid. So I'm cool.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. See
Yeah.
you next
That
week.
works.
Next
All
month
right.
sometime.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon. Okay, bye.
Okay,
All right, is she
bye.
going to do it or am I going to do it? Oh, she did it. Okay.
She did.
Are we done?
Yeah, put a fork in it. You are done.
We are done.
Well,
Done.
you know, speaking of adoption, I did find my birth mother, and it was a awesome experience, and not everybody gets that with their birth parents.
Do you know why you were
Or the
adopted? Do you know why?
Yes, my mother was 16. It was 1954,
Oh,
and she had no choice.
yeah,
This is what her mother told her she was going to do.
yeah. Oh, bless her heart.
Oh, wow. I mean, she told her
that
this
was-
is what she was going to do.
Yeah, she was
Did that give her some peace of mind when you saw
Yeah.
her?
actually. Oh my gosh, we cried for days, and yes, it was happy tears, and we were sad for what we lost, but we were happy for what we were going to be gaining. And it's been 20 years now.
Oh,
Wow.
So yeah,
See, I
yeah.
love stories
And I have
like
a
that.
and I have a half brother who's 16 years younger than me,
Wow.
and I enjoy him and his family a lot. We don't talk as much as we should, but he's always in my thoughts. And it's just, my birth father wanted to marry my birth mother, but my grandmother said absolutely not.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow.
So there were a lot of dynamics going on. And actually, my grandmother passed the day of or the day before I called my mom.
Oh, wow.
And it was just odd, the circumstances. But I know she told my mother, I was in the same place for 40 years and we never heard from her. And I think that was her regret.
Wow.
So it was crazy, and they weren't,
Yes.
they weren't well off. They were what grandma called poor. But you don't know the circumstances, and as a mother, you're trying to do the best for your child,
Right.
and in this case, your grandchild.
Well,
And so
not
it
to
is
get
what it is.
Yeah, and not to get political, but this is exactly why we have to focus on women's rights at all ages,
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
things are so heated over these subjects and stuff. 16 is an awfully young age, especially back then. I don't think women were as mature at an early age as we are now because of the lack of exposure to things. So I can see why her mother had that much control over her, but still, that's an awful thing to not have control over it and know that you have to live with that decision all your life,
And I think part of it is that there are not enough, maybe even now or when I was 16, not enough places for you to reach out and get information that you need to make an informed decision.
Well, one of the things that I've always wondered about, we have like the Edna Gladney home, so you can go and have your child and put them up for adoption. This is specifically geared to young ladies that are not fully grown and stuff like that. But why have we never, ever had a place where women could go, regardless of their age, if they were single, and say, we will help you have your baby, we will help you learn how to raise it, we will help you file for resources, because frankly, this is where I get really angry at my own religion. there is enough money out there being spent by the Christian churches to ban abortion that they would focus on giving women options instead of telling them they're wrong. They would be able to facilitate less abortions, because how many people would love to keep their child, but they feel desperate?
Well,
That's right. They do feel desperate.
And desperation is a
Yeah.
bad place to be, to have to make a decision. It really is.
And I think that grandmother told her, we're poor, we can't do this.
Well, there's not enough for another mouth to feed.
Well, and she would have been
Right.
ruined. In 1954, let's be honest, she would have been ruined in her community and would have probably been treated as a pariah. You know, is that the right word? I think it is.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. But as soon as she never returned to high school, and as soon as she got back, I say as soon as, probably 6 to 8 months after she got back, she met my brother's dad, and they moved to California.
So
And she hardly saw her mother at all.
So see that there was a huge fallout in her life over that
Yeah.
decision. You know, thank God you are able to connect, and there's been healing with that. Thank God.
Yeah, and there's an adoption support group in Richardson, and I don't even remember their name, but we went there. Mom and I went there, and we were going to tell our story because one of the ladies there found some information to help me find my birth mother, and we wanted to connect with her. But there were so many horrible stories about people meeting their birth parents and being turned away and being told how I don't know you. And so, there's all kinds of stories out there. You don't know what your circumstances will be once you do find your birth parent.
Well,
It's not always a really good connection. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, there are some stories. My mom was always afraid my the sperm donor, as we call him, would show up and I would leave and go off with him. I mean, that was a really big fear for her.
yeah.
And I just kept saying, you're the one that raised me. But, the thing about my mom was she never, ever, ever said anything bad about it, ever, until I got older. And that's when she said, now you can make up your own mind.
Right.
But when I was in my early 20s, that's when I decided I wanted to know who was this person, So I actively pursued to find out what kind of person would this be. And I remember thinking, gosh, I wonder what my life would have been like had he raised me.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Totally different, lives in California, whatever. Well, come to find out, he lived, I think, in Minnesota after California. And then when I did meet him, I thought, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a new term for sperm donor after the horrible conversation I had with my own dad, who basically just forgot I existed for years because it was too difficult. They're not sperm donors. They're sperm terrorists because they squirt it and let it land wherever.
Sperm terror. Well, the sperm donor in my case actually got remarried and had 2 other children. And they did not even know I existed until their mother wound up with cancer. And it was brutal. It was just brutal. And when their mother died, my half-sister, she started looking through some of the records and stuff that they had collected. And that's when she found out I existed. And that just brought up a whole new, oh my God, who is this person? And why didn't you tell us that we had another sister and blah, 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 blah.
See, by my definition, your dad was a sperm terrorist.
Well, he kept propagating the species, that's for sure.
He just
I think he got married a 3rd time, moved to Florida.
Yeah.
And
See, he
God
just
knows how
shot
many
it and let
children
it
he had
land
down
where it
there.
did. Shoot it and let it land where
Yeah,
it did.
my half brother was quite upset with my mom. Why didn't you tell me I could have helped you find her? Blah blah blah. So he was very upset at first. Not that I existed, but that he could have helped find me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think family secrets cause more damage than people think they will by keeping them secret. but
They do. I understand.
it's because of the guilt and the shame. It's really hard to face their own guilt and shame. So I get it, but I don't like it. So,
well, my grandfather said one time to my mom, I own that little girl of yours. I own her. And he actually had the documents where he was really the, what would you call that? I mean,
Guardian?
Yeah.
I just wanted to watch to see how long it took. Thanks, Luann.
I just, yeah. And it was like he used that over her constantly. And it's like, that is so cruel to me now, thinking about it. Why would you do that to an individual? Hold that over him? But, that was an old person's thought, I guess.
Well,
anyway.
Did he do it to beat her up, or did he do it to prove his commitment? I think sometimes things are misconstrued.
No, he did it. He had a mean streak in him, and he would show up every once in a while. And if Mother didn't do something that he wanted her to do, he would throw up different things of, I don't know, just different things. But I was with the right parent. There's no doubt about it. I was with the right one. I didn't need to be with a sperm donor. Well, sperm terrorist.
Tomorrow is Tipsy Tuesday, Techno Tuesday, whatever Tuesday. It's Tuesday tomorrow.
Halloween.
It's Halloweeny, and I'm going to research the scariest places in the United States. I've not done it yet, but I'll get it done before the show.
There's a whole major list out there.
And
I have
out there on video.
What?
America's most haunted.
Yeah.
And the world's most haunted. It's on video.
Well, we'll be on video, so we'll be right up there with them.
Yes, of course.
And hopefully I will be here somewhere in the middle, but Carrie's going to join you. And I have a commitment for my
that's right.
morning.
And I'm going to show you an app.
You never know.
I'm going to show y'all an app that y'all can download on your phone that I found this weekend through some of the Ghostbusters that I was with. It's kind of interesting. I don't know the science behind it, but you know that thing that they use in the shows where it picks up voices? Okay, well, there are a lot of different versions of that, but there's this app that's supposed to do that as well on the phone, and it also types out the word, and then it saves all the words, and we had some really weird words coming in. So just real quick, I was sitting with Martha. We all know Martha Decker. She's been on our show, and we were both running the app, and we weren't getting the same words, and I'm like, see, because, I'm there being skeptic, okay? I'm the skeptic.
Right.
But what was funny is that mine was getting really agitated and it kept going in the red, and I started singing. And the minute I started singing, it just really calmed down. And I said, look, you need to start making some sense. I'm tired of this tomfoolery. And then mine popped up and it said warrior, spirit, boom, boom, just real fast. And then Martha's popped up exorcist.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm like, so do you? So I'm like, do you need an exorcist? Do you want an exorcist? Really? And then it said no. I thought, well, that was interesting, So a lot of little odd things going on there, and you can make a lot out of it or not.
Or it's just like a spirit box. We used that when I was doing for all the seances, we've used my spirit box on my phone. And it would light up and it would say something and you'd go, okay, well, we've got this word or we've got that word. And we put it in the middle of the table or desk and it would just light up with it. The one that bothered me the most was all of a sudden it said my grandfather's name, and that was really unnerving.
That is odd. But
that is odd.
The other thing about this app that's cool is it saves all the words for you, so you can go back and look at the words in the sequence they are.
I love it. I love
it. It's 1:00 in the morning and I'm tired. I'm cranky. And I'm like, you know what? If you can put these words out there, you can do whole sentences. Get real.
That's what I was thinking. The same thing. Yeah.
Well,
and of course, the technology's going to get better, and they'll actually make it to where you can have full sentences or whatever without having to have all that white noise in the background.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm still skeptical. There was a lot of interesting things going on. I was looking at all the different equipment, the one that does the outlines like they use in video games and stuff that's supposed to be picking up energy. And there was definitely outlines of things on that. And we had a flashlight that was going crazy, going on and off. And
Yeah, I like those.
in appropriate
I like those.
times, an appropriate response. That was kind of interesting. But I have to admit, sometimes I was picking up on energy and sometimes I wasn't,
Yeah.
So, I don't know any more or less than when I got there, but it was a fun experience and it was interesting.
As long as you got out and had a good time, that's really the most important thing.
So,
Especially right now.
yeah. So I thought it'd be cool that, because that was a soft opening for the hotel because they're redoing it. I thought when they get it finished, they're going to have a dining room and a ballroom. It'd be nice to have a little event and have all the hotel booked by one group and just go and have lectures and experiences and stuff. Might be kind of fun, something to do in the future.
Have a seance.
I don't know if I want to. Y'all can, but I may not participate. I don't know how I feel about
that'd be great.
that. Oh my gosh, I have a whole flock of things flying around here. I just don't know how I feel about that personally, so I'll have to think about it. So,
Okay, you're not invited.
I just hate her sometimes. I just hate her. She's like the older sister that you just want to punch in the face, going, "Let me play, let me play."
Well, yeah, I am. I agree.
You are. You're so mean.
I am.
You're the one you're the one that can run faster, so you run off and say, "You can't catch me." Ha.
No, that one I failed. I never learned how to run properly, so I can't run. I do not know how to run properly.
How is that possible?
I mean, seriously.
How's that possible?
I can't. My ankles don't want to. I don't know. There's something about the running where you're running like on your toes or whatever.
Right.
And I run very flat footed, and it hurts actually. And I never had that ability to run really well.
You probably needed corrective shoes when you were little.
Probably so.
I did.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
Yeah, I did.
I had very weak ankles. I was always doing something to my ankles, turning them or twisting them or something. It was always an issue when I was growing up. So,
See, I had corrective shoes because of the same reason. That's something we have in common. But mine overcorrected. Now have these extremely high arches. It's ridiculous.
Oh, see, I don't, man. I just so don't.
So, all right, I will get the research done for tomorrow. And now you know I don't hate you. I love you.
Well, I like you a lot.
I know you do.
Yeah, I do. I like you a lot.
But you do treat me like the older mean sister sometimes.
Well, I only do that to people I like. If I don't like you, I don't care.
Oh my God. So that's what it means when they said she's like your granddaddy, because he was the same way.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if you interest me, this sounds horrible. If you interest me, then I'm going to either be very sarcastic, or I'm not going to talk to you at all because I don't care.
This may be why you're not married. Most men
Could be.
Most men don't know how to react to that.
You have a really good point, and I care.
Listen, when men don't like strong women.
No,
it takes somebody
and
special.
They don't like psychics either, because if they're going to do something, I bet you'd find that out. I bet you'd know. They like, yeah, what are you, a moron? Yeah.
I dated a real short guy once. He goes, you're a very powerful woman, and I like that. And I said, why? He goes, because it's like climbing Mount Everest.
Oh, my God.
Now, he did not mean that in a dirty way, but it sounded cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
He was so
I could
short,
see that.
though. He was so short.
But if men are not confident in themselves and they meet a confident woman,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a connection.
No, they always try to
don't
put
like
you
it.
down and own you and, and control you.
Yeah.
I ran into that all
that's
my life.
not going to work.
All my life.
But
Well, my mom was
you know.
very independent. She raised us very independent. And of course, our affections are also very independent. And we're very, I guess, closed in many ways. And if you can't put up with an independent woman or a person who has their own opinion, then I don't need you around. Yeah, there's plenty of other people out there for you to hook up with. I mean,
Hey,
and I like myself. I enjoy my own company.
I do too. I enjoy being by myself. I really do. And Scott's very internalized, so that works well.
Yeah.
Hey, I got something to put out there to people that watch us. Well, if you know how to write music and are a songwriter, write us a theme song, and I'll sing it at the end of the show every day.
No.
Or you can compose it and record it, and we'll play it. We need a theme song.
That's better.
Okay, and we'll listen to it first.
Well, of course. If it sucks,
And
we're
then
not
you'll
going to
decide,
play it.
right?
Yeah, if it sucks, we're not going to play it. Get real.
Okay.
You know,
Checking.
if somebody
Just-
gives you a box of
just
horse
checking.
manure, you're going to put it in the garden where it belongs. Okay.
Well, we would hope.
Well, you said I was intelligent, so I would know that. I would know to do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm
Halloween.
going now.
Yep.
Okay.
God.
Like you a
Like
lot.
the lot.
All right, I'm hitting the buttons.